Listen closely, because I believe this message is for you today. Have you ever looked at your life and wondered, why is this happening to me? Why am I facing so many problems, so much pain, so many setbacks? Maybe you feel like the weight of the world is crushing you. Maybe the bills are piling up, relationships are falling apart, dreams feel like they've died, and no matter how hard you try, you just keep hitting walls. But let me tell you something powerful. Your problems are not bigger than God's plan. God's plan is always greater, always stronger, always higher than the problems you see right now. You see, when we are in the middle of our struggles, it's so easy to focus on the mountain standing in front of us. The problem looks huge, the pain feels endless, the disappointment cuts so deep, and we ask God, where are you? Why me? Why now? But what if I told you that the very problem you are facing is not meant to destroy you, but to shape you? What if I told you that God is using this exact moment, the tears, the stress, the confusion, to prepare you for something so much greater than you can even imagine? Because here's the truth. Your story doesn't end in the valley of problems. It ends in the victory of God's promises. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and left forgotten in a prison cell. If anyone had a reason to say, my problems are bigger than me, my life is over, it was Joseph. But what happened? God's plan was at work the entire time. Every betrayal, every disappointment, every setback, it was all part of the setup. Because in the end, Joseph was lifted to the palace, put in charge of a nation, and used by God to save millions from famine. What the enemy meant for evil, God turned for good. And I want you to hear this today. What looks like the biggest problem of your life may actually be the very pathway to your greatest breakthrough. So let me ask you, are you focusing on the problem or are you trusting the plan? Because the problem screams, this is the end. You can't make it. You're finished. But God's plan whispers, this is just the beginning. Keep walking. I'm with you. I'm working. The problem shows you what's in front of you, but God's plan sees what's ahead of you. And I promise you, what God has ahead of you is far greater than what you've lost behind you. Maybe right now, you're sitting in a storm that makes no sense. Maybe your heart is broken. Maybe your finances are tight. Maybe your health feels fragile. Maybe people walked out on you when you needed them most. But even in this moment, don't you forget, God is not surprised by your problem. He already has a plan for your future. Isaiah 55 says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. That means what looks impossible to you is completely possible with God. What looks like the end to you is just the middle to Him. What looks like defeat to you is simply a setup for His victory. And here's the key. You've got to hold on. Don't quit. Don't let the problem convince you that God has forgotten you. Don't let the enemy's lies make you believe that this is where your story ends. Because if you still have breath in your lungs, God still has a plan for your life. And that plan is bigger than the divorce, bigger than the sickness, bigger than the financial struggle, bigger than the rejection, bigger than the anxiety, bigger than the depression, bigger than anything standing against you. Look at David facing Goliath. Everyone else saw a giant too big to defeat, but David saw a giant too big to miss. Why? Because he knew his God was bigger than any problem. He didn't walk into that battle with fear. He walked in with faith. And maybe you've been staring at your giant for too long, letting it intimidate you, letting it steal your peace, letting it keep you up at night. But today is the day you rise up and declare, my God is bigger, my God is stronger, my God is greater, and his plan for me cannot be stopped. Do you believe that? Because believing it is the first step to seeing it. You've got to shift your perspective. Stop magnifying the problem and start magnifying your God. Stop rehearsing the pain and start repeating the promises. Stop focusing on what's breaking and start focusing on what God is building. Because the truth is, your problem is temporary, but God's plan is eternal. Think about it. Every great story has moments of conflict, tension, and struggle. Without the problem, there would be no victory. Without the storm, there would be no rainbow. Without the cross, there would be no resurrection. And the same is true for you. This problem you're facing is not the end. It's part of the story God is writing in your life. And if you stay faithful, if you keep trusting, if you keep walking with him, you will see how he weaves every pain, every problem, every tear into a masterpiece of grace and glory. So I want you to imagine something right now. Imagine the day when you look back at this exact problem that feels so overwhelming today, and you realize it was the very thing God used to bring you into your destiny. Imagine the moment you say, if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be here. If I hadn't faced that storm, I wouldn't have seen this blessing. If I hadn't walked through that fire, I wouldn't be this strong. That's the power of God's plan. It doesn't just get you through the problem, it transforms you in the process. And here's the good news. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to solve every problem on your own. You just have to trust. Trust that the God who created the universe knows what he's doing in your life. Trust that the one who brought you this far will not leave you now. Trust that the plan he has for you is good, even when the path feels hard. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." That's his promise to you. And his promises never fail. So today, lift your head, dry your tears, straighten your shoulders, and walk forward in faith, because the God who split the Red Sea, who knocked down the walls of Jericho, who shut the mouths of lions, who raised Jesus from the dead, that same God is with you right now. And if he is with you, no problem can defeat you. No enemy can stop you. No obstacle can block you. Because God's plan is always bigger than your problems. This is not the end of your story. It's just the beginning. And the best is yet to come. But let me remind you of something even deeper. Your struggle is not wasted. Every tear, every sleepless night, every anxious prayer whispered in the dark, it's all seen by God. Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." That means not a single tear has been ignored. Not a single prayer has gone unheard. Not a single problem has slipped past his sight. You are never unseen. You are never abandoned. Even in the silence, God is working. Sometimes we want God to remove the problem immediately. We pray, "Lord, take this pain away. Take this burden off my shoulders in this trial now." But often, instead of removing the problem, God strengthens us in the middle of it. Why? Because the problem isn't just something you go through, it's something you grow through. God is building endurance, faith, patience, and courage inside of you that could never be developed without pressure. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Gold is refined by fire. Warriors are trained in battle. And children of God are strengthened in trials. So if you feel pressure right now, don't despair. It means God is making you into something rare, something valuable, something strong. The problem may look like it's crushing you, but in reality, it's shaping you into the person God destined you to be. Romans 8:28 declares, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Notice it says all things. That means the good, the bad, the ugly, the painful, the confusing, all of it is woven into the beautiful tapestry of God's plan. And when you finally step into the fullness of his purpose, you'll look back and realize the problems that once felt like change were actually the keys that unlocked your destiny. The storms that once felt like destruction were the very winds that pushed your ship toward the right shore. The pain that once made you cry became the testimony that will make others believe. That's how God works. He turns ashes into beauty, mourning into dancing, despair into joy. So don't give up now. Don't throw away your hope. Don't listen to the lies of the enemy telling you it's over. You are not finished. You are just in transition. Your problems are not the end. They are the process. And God's process always leads to God's promise. Lift your voice and declare it today. God's plan is bigger than my problems. His purpose is greater than my pain. His victory is stronger than my battles. Say it until it becomes the anthem of your soul. Because the more you align your heart with his truth, the less power your problems will have over you. And when fear tries to creep in, when doubt tries to rise up, when worry whispers in your ear, remind yourself of who your God is. The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. The one who speaks and mountains move. The one who calms storms with a word. The one who calls you chosen, redeemed, and victorious. That's the God who holds your life, and that's why your problems can never be bigger than his plan. So keep walking, keep believing, keep standing, because your story isn't finished, it's unfolding. And the author of your story is faithful to complete what he started. One day soon, you'll see how every piece fit together. Until then, trust. Until then, hope. Until then, rest in this promise. God's plan is always bigger than your problems.